Hi BookTube, long time no see. Yeah, how have you guys been? This is going to be, if you've read the title already, this is my August wrap-up. I think I finished maybe one book at the end of July. Maybe. But these are all of the books that I've completed since my last video. So I'm just going to say all of them is an August wrap-up. Okay, so before we get started, life update. Distance learning sucks. As a teacher and as a mom, sucks. I hate it so much. Been teaching, this is going on our 4th week of distance learning, and so that's where I've been. And I know that you guys don't mind that I'm late. I did do a lot of videos in August. I think I posted like 6 or 7, so I'm hopefully going to be able to put out the same amount, just it's not going to be consistent. I'm going to try to get as much out as possible in the month, but for the time being, let's focus on the August wrap-up. So the first one I want to talk about is the August pick for the Stephen King 2020 read-along that I and myself, yes. I host that, and I have a co-host this year, Ashley Smith. She's amazing. I met her here on BookTube. She was just, you know, a normal subscriber, and now we're BFFs. So I do host a Stephen King read-along on Goodreads. I will leave the link down below in case you want to join the group. Every single month we have a new Stephen King book that we read. I've been doing this going on 3 or 4 years now. I can't remember. Yeah, so it's either going to be a book that I've already read in the past and I want to introduce it to you guys, or a book that I haven't read yet. I kind of try to do a little bit of everything. So I'll do like a short book from an older period of time, and then a longer book, and then maybe a newer book release from King, or I'll go and I'll do a collection of short stories. So that way there's a mix of all different genres and things that you guys can choose from. Yeah, so if you guys want to join the group, amazing. I'm not like super talkative on the site. I do post, you know, every month what the new book is going to be, and then I try to comment down below, but things happen and sometimes I don't. But Ashley, my co-host in the group, is amazing at answering questions. So thank you again, Ashley, for helping me out so much. You are wonderful. All right, so what we read was Stephen King's The Colorado Kid. Now, this is the first book that was published for the hard case crime series. I can't remember what the people's names are. I know that you guys kind of don't care, but I like to give you some more information than what I already know. So this was written by Charles R. Day, or I think it's R. Day. Basically, him and a partner wanted to create a publishing house that would publish old, like, crime noir stories from like the 70s and 80s. They normally came in paperbacks. They were pretty small. I guess they were mass market. They weren't very long. They could be folded up and put in a pocket, or, you know, read whenever. And basically it was just a really quick, like, crime mystery read, and they had lots to choose from back in the 70s and 80s. And these two men decided that they wanted to, like, bring those back into mainstream, and then have lots of people read the crime noir books that they liked growing up. And they went and contacted Stephen King, hoping that he would respond, and he so happened to respond. And they were thinking, oh, well, maybe he'll just like blurb us. And King's like, no, I'm gonna write you guys a book. And so they did. So he wrote The Colorado Kid. Now, if you like Joyland. Joyland is another one of the hard case crime books. Then you're going to like this one. If you liked Dolores Claiborne or Gerald's Game, I think you'll also like this story. All 4 of those stories are mostly character based. I mean, all of King's books are usually character based, but these ones in particular are very like person commentary. So basically it's from the perspective of the narrator, and they're kind of just like talking to you about stuff. This is the same thing. So we have a murder that happened in this island town right off of Maine. It's called, oh, what was the town? It was some kind of weird Moose Look. It's not even on the back, I just remembered. It's called Moose Look Island. And there are 2 older gentlemen, and they're sitting at a table with a woman named Stephanie and a reporter from the Boston Globe, I think. Doesn't matter. A journalist from Boston comes up to Maine and is interviewing these 2 men that write for a local paper on Moose Look Island. And he's like, hey, I have this series that I'm writing, and I really want to write up new mystery stories for this new column that I'm doing. Is there any mysteries that you know of that I could, you know, talk to you about and then write for this new series? And the men give him the exact same stories that have been around in Maine and off of Moose Look Island for generations. And so when the man leaves, because he really didn't get anything out of them, he leaves, and Stephanie goes, hey, why did you guys only give him, I mean, is that all the mysteries that there are here on the island? Like, there's nothing else weird that you guys have come across in like the 30, 40 plus years that you've been journalists? And they're like, no, we have one more story that we could have told the journalist from Boston, but we don't want to. And we don't think he would do the story justice, and we don't think he would be able to solve it. And it's kind of like our story. It's like a story from here instead of from away. And we don't really want people from away to get their hands on this story. We want to keep it close. And so Stephanie's like, oh my gosh, you know, please tell me this story. And Stephanie is an intern at the local paper. And so she's like training and learning from these 2 older gentlemen on how to run a newspaper and how to interview and so forth and so on. So that is basically the entire book. So the 2 old men and Stephanie, the men are called Dave Bowie, and the other gentleman is called, I forgot. What was his name? God, you know me. I always want to tell you guys the names. For me, it just makes it seem easier. Yeah, we already know Dave. What is the other? I think it's Vince. Is it? It is Vince. Haha! So good. Okay, yeah. So there is Vincent Teague, I think is what his last name is, or at least that's how I pronounced it in my head. Teague, and David Bowie. You can't forget that last name. I don't know why King gave him that name, but whatever. So yeah, the 2 older gentlemen and Stephanie are just talking about the Colorado Kid, and that is the entire story. That's the mystery, the Colorado Kid. It's about a man who is found on the beach of Moose Look Island by 2 teenagers that were walking or running. I don't know if they were supposed to be going to school or not, but anyways, they're you know, walking around, and they notice a man that looks slumped over on the beach, and the girl says, hey, why don't you go check out that guy, make sure he's okay. The boyfriend goes down there. He says, I think the guy's dead. The girl's all, shake him and see if he wakes up. And the guy's like, no, he's not gonna wake up. I think he's really dead. And of course they check him out, and yes, he is dead. So they call the cops, and then they come and investigate. And yeah, I don't want to tell you anymore because this is a really tiny book. It's only about 200 pages, and so I want you guys to go in and just read it for what it is. It's I think I gave it 4 stars. It was great. I liked it. You know, it's a easy read. It's definitely a good mystery. You don't really know what is going on in the book, so I really enjoyed that. And yeah, all of the links to all of my Goodreads reviews will be down below. Excuse the truck noise. It's like, it's either watermen are coming in, trash trucks are driving in, Amazon is coming, there's a truck near my window every single second of every day. I can't stand it. I really can't wait to move. Who knows when that will be, but it would be nice. All right, I'm gonna take a moment so that way the truck will leave. One more truck. Idling motorcycle. All right. The next book that I read, this was a buddy read with Ashley. I already talked about her. She's the co-host of the Stephen King read-along on Goodreads. We buddy read 2 books together in August, and I buddy read a book with Penelope. You guys know Penelope. I will leave her channel link down below. You absolutely have to subscribe to Penelope. So this was one of the buddy reads that we did, and Eileen is written by Otessa Moshfegh, maybe. This is the first Otessa book that I have read, and going into it, I knew barely anything. I know that Katie from Chapter Stacks really enjoyed this book, and I put it on my TBR after watching her review like 3 years ago. I was like, oh, okay, I definitely want it. And then Penelope bought this for my birthday, and I was thinking, perfect, I'm going to read it. And I think she got this for my birthday last year, and I didn't read it last year. I'm glad I finally read it this year. It's definitely a very like slow burn book, and it's hard to describe because I'm pretty sure it's under the genre thriller, but nothing thrillery happens, not really. And then I think it's also under the genre of mystery, but there's not really a mystery either. I mean, there's one small tiny twist at the end, but I predicted what was going to happen, and normally I'm really bad at that. So I just want to say that this is a historical fiction, contemporary, like a dark fiction. Contemporary, dark fiction, historical fiction. Yeah, because it is set back in 1964. So that's where it starts. This book is, what is it? It's 260 pages, and it goes across about a week. So there's like 6 or 7 days that you read in the story. Each chapter is a new day. We start off in 1964. Our main character, Eileen, is a 24-year-old woman who works at a juvenile like prison for boys. She's the one that like takes like new prisoners in, and she fills out all the forms, and she's like a receptionist, I guess. There's 2 older women that work with her. I don't know what they do, but you know, whenever you start a new job, you always get tasked with the crap, and then the people who've been there the longest don't have to do that crap anymore. So she's the crap taker. So basically she works at this boys prison, this juvenile prison, and every day is the same. Now, before I continue on with the review, do know that there are triggers. Alcoholism is one. The father is an alcoholic. 2, there is anorexia in this book. There is a bit of, let's see what else. I don't know. It might just be a little bit vulgar in times, because Eileen is pretty vulgar in like her pastimes, like what she likes and what she doesn't like. It's actually really disgusting. I'm just not, I like a good like fart joke, but I don't want to talk about like, you know, body parts a lot and what they can do. But she does. She's interested in bodily like activities and smells, and that grosses me out. So yeah, if you get grossed out by that kind of stuff, you might get grossed out by this book as well. So how can I talk about this book and make it make sense? So Eileen she came from a very deprived home life. Her mother was a bit of a nag, and not only that, but she kind of put down Eileen a lot growing up, and then she got sick, and when Eileen was in college, she had to come home and take care of her mom, and then her mom passes away. That was around 19. I think her mom passed away at 19, and so she's 24 now. Her father used to be a police officer, but once I can't remember when he retired, but he was pretty heavily into drinking, and he was messing up a lot at work, and instead of like putting him in jail or taking him to some kind of like treatment facility for alcoholism or even mental health, they just gave him an early retirement, and so he's just been home. But the thing is, his alcoholism is getting worse, and not only that, he's starting to get extremely paranoid, and so basically Eileen has been having to take care of him for years now. But she's also a really bad enabler. So she goes and she buys him his alcohol, but then she hides all of his shoes in her trunk so that way he can't leave the house. So it's like I don't know what kind, it's a very strange relationship between the two. The dad acts like he hates her, and he might, at least in her eyes, and I don't know how much of how much she's being truthful in the book, because she's not a very reliable source, because she also has her own mental health issues. So basically she's been living with her dad for, you know, like 5 years alone, and the house is just crumbling around behind them. Nobody cleans, nobody cooks, nobody eats. In her house, it wasn't like this main thing to do. So there was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they didn't come together and eat. And when they did eat, everybody ate like such a small amount. So when Eileen was growing up and she was a little bit chubby when she was little, her mom would, you know, say things like, oh, maybe you shouldn't eat today. You might want to lose some weight. And so with that, Eileen, you know, struggled with an eating disorder, and then her mom started seeing results, and then so she kept saying, wow, you're looking really good. And so Eileen got really into not eating, because she was, you know, now had control over something, since she didn't have control throughout the rest of her life. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing else much to say about this book. If you enjoy another kind of like character-driven analysis type of book, then you're going to definitely enjoy this. I found it fascinating. I think I gave this book 4 stars as well. Eileen's just, she's not, I was talking to Ashley about this. If you guys have read Dark Places, yeah, Dark Places, Libby Day is the main character in that one, and she too is an unreliable source. She witnessed her family being murdered when she was little, and she blamed her brother as the murderer, and so he went to jail. But now that she's older, she's running out of money, and then she like, so she's such like a bad, she's such a bad like character. Like nothing that Libby could do could make me feel sorry for her and make me root for her. When it comes to Eileen, she didn't have a choice in the way that she was brought up, and she doesn't have a choice in the way she is now. And when we're reading this story in 1964, it's older 50-year-old Eileen that is telling us about her past and the way she just lived her life back then, and right before she moved away from the place that she lives. In this book, it's called Exville. I don't know why the author did that. Like, is older Eileen like trying to hide where she was from, and that's why it's called Exville? I don't know. I guess that would be a question for the author. Anywho, I did find it enjoyable. Definitely pick it up if you want to read something that doesn't really have a point. It's just a good read. Hopefully that made sense. All right, the next buddy read I had with Ashley was Hellworld, and this is by Tom Levine, I think. Tom Levine. I purchased this ages ago. I think this came out in 2017, and I put it on my most anticipated reads list, and then I bought it like a year later, I think. Maybe earlier than that. It doesn't matter. And then I finally picked it up with Ashley because she just so happened to have the book as well. This is a YA book. I've never read Tom Levine before. I didn't know what this book was really about going into it, and I like my books like that, especially, and that's so funny because I have, you guys know this about me already, I have tons and tons and tons and tons of books. I buy them when they're on my most anticipated reads list. At the time I put them on my list, I know for a fact that I like the synopsis, and that's why I purchased them. But if you don't read something that you were excited to read about, years and years later, you don't know what the hell the book is about anymore. And it's kind of a surprise every time. And I was pleasantly surprised with this book. So, this book is about a girl named Abby. I can't remember what her dad is called. Doesn't matter. And then there is Charlie. I think the other friend is Alex, and then there's Shelby. Am I right? Selby? Abby? Wow. I was right. Okay, so Hellworld is about a girl named Abby. Her mother disappeared 5 years ago when we start reading this story. And her mom used to work for a ghost hunting kind of TV show. Her mother used to be a medical examiner. Is that right? I think that's what the mom used to be. She was some kind of, you know, medical person before she started working for this company. And then her partner on the TV show is an anthropologist that specializes in like religion and cults and other things like that. I can't remember. But his name is Dr. John Prynne, I think. Anyways, the two of them, the Abby's mom and the doctor, they go off with a crew to Arizona to check out this cave that they heard that there was mysteries in. And now the doctor himself, oops, excuse me, I'm kicking the camera. The doctor himself had written a book prior to them going to this cave, and he put all of his analysis on religion and how things work and the mythologies of certain religions and Noah's Ark and all of this stuff. He put all this into a book that he wrote prior to them leaving for their trip to Arizona. And what happens is they don't come back. So Abby's dad is confused. They send out, you know, police and like search parties go out and nobody can find the mom and the dad and the crew members from this TV show. So now Abby is 17. Her mom disappeared when she was 12. And at first her dad was able to kind of cope, and he was able to like take care of Abby, but after a while it was more or less like she had to take care of him. And so she got a job at Arby's and she, you know, continued to take care of him. But her dad has really bad depression, especially now that the mom is gone. And so it's been a struggle for him. And so she's going to deal with that. And in all of the books that I read in August, it's kind of the same theme, which is very strange, where we have these fathers that aren't able to cope, and they're using, you know, substances to get them to continue with their day. And so Abby knows that her dad just kind of sits in front of the TV and zones out and like drinks, and she doesn't know how to help him, but she also knows that she needs to be the parent of the house and like take care of him and pay the bills and everything. And so that's been a struggle. So when she is 17, she's finally realizing that this is going to continue, and she's almost out of school. She's in her senior year. She knows that she's going to want to move away when she's 18 to go to college, and she's worried that her dad isn't going to be able to like cope with that. So the trigger for this book is depression, and it may have a little bit to do with self inflictions. So I don't want to say that there was what is it called? You're not supposed to say someone committed suicide. They killed themselves. So there is something like that. They talk about it a little bit in the book. So if that's another trigger, you might want to skip over that or just not read the book in general. But there is that. And then this is basically about religion and the monsters that are manifested in the old world. So Abby ends up contacting Charlie, which is Dr. Prin's son. And she goes, hey, so I found this book that was written by your dad in my mom's drawer. And I know that this book existed because we have another copy, but this one is weird because not only did she hide it, but it's got annotations within the book. There's writing all in it. And Charlie responds with, I want to see that book. And so they decide to meet in Las Vegas, and then after they've spoken, and they haven't talked to each other since they were 12, since the disappearance of their parents. So they end up deciding that they're all going to drive to that cave and inspect it themselves. And what they find in this cave is very strange. And I don't want to go anymore after that. This book was brilliant. At first, when I first started reading it, I texted Ashley and I was like, God, I haven't read a YA book in a really long time. And this is true. I think I've only read like 3 YA books this year. And normally I read a ton of YA, but this year has been predominantly adult reads. And so I was like, ugh, YA, I hate the way it sounds so juvenile, you know, like immature, like there's always a bunch of whining. But this one's not like that. And at first I thought it was going to be, and it kind of has, you know, the little like back and forth banter between some of the teenagers. But other than that, it's pretty fast-paced. I know that we were reading 3 chapters a day, and I kind of wanted to go ahead because the chapters aren't very long, and it was very exciting to see what was happening and how everything was going to unfold. So if you like books that have a religious twist to it, and you like YA, and this one, like I said, has monsters, so if you like that kind of stuff, definitely pick this up. Now, the ending is, to me, very ambiguous. You can see how it's going to end, but in my Ashley and I both thought, hey, this kind of sounds like it could have a sequel. And I was like, oh, so I played around with the thought, and so I wrote her what my version of the sequel would be. And it was pretty quick. It was like, you know, 2 paragraphs or something on my prediction of if there was a sequel to this book, where it would go. So it was a kind of like a rough draft. And she goes, oh my gosh, I would totally read that book. Too bad, you know, it's not made. And so I contacted Tom Levine on Instagram, and I was like just throwing it out there. I'm like, hey, so I read your book, loved it. This is what I think the ending, not the ending should be, but this is what I think a sequel should be if you wrote the sequel. And hey, by the way, is there a sequel coming? And a couple days go by and I'm thinking, you know, you write people that are famous, whether they're celebrities or not. And, you know, everyone can be famous. It doesn't matter how many people follow you. I was very, very excited when I got this letter from the author, because it's exciting when you can talk to somebody who did something special. You know, writing a book is very special. And so this is a total rant. But anyhow, he wrote me back and he was like, hey, I really like what you wrote. And oh, by the way, this is a standalone. I wasn't going to make a sequel, but a lot of people have asked me, so you're not the only one. And I really like what you wrote. So maybe there will be a sequel. So what I'm hoping is that if he does make a sequel, he shouts my name out in his book. It says that Missy totally gave me the idea for this alternative ending to my thought process when I finished Hellworld. That was a very long spiel about this book, but yeah, definitely check it out. I think I gave this 4 stars too. I think I gave all of the books in August 4 stars. They were all very good. No, I lied. I think I gave this one 5 stars. This is White is for Witching by Helen Oyami, I think is how you say it. I did share this to you guys in my Horror Around the World edition for Black authors. I haven't finished the other horror books from the Black authors that I purchased back in April, something like that. I will do a full horror review for that particular series once I've finished all of these books, but I'll just do mini reviews here so you guys can, you know, hear what I have to say about it. So White is for Witching is a dark fairy tale about a parent. So the mom, I can't remember what her name is. Oh, Lily. I should have known. So Lily is the mom, and she disappears. It's kind of like Disney. Just all of these moms are dying in all the books. The dads are there trying to take care of everybody and doing a little bit of a crappy job in the process. So we have a house that is been in the family for a couple of generations on the mom's side. The mom is named Lily. And Lily disappears one day. The dad doesn't know what happens to her. The kids, I know that the mom was like a journalist and she was down in, I want to say South America. I don't know why Peru keeps coming into my mind. I don't know if that's where she was. But she was on a journalist, she was like a journalist, and she was on this mission quest. She was on a trip, and she was going to talk about this trip and like videotape it, and then she never comes back. Now, the twins, there is Miri or Miranda, and I can't remember what her brother's name is. Elliot, that's her brother's name. And Elliot, and so they were told that the mom died. And the dad, you know, thinks that's what happened as well. But they didn't, like, have a definitive answer to where the mom went. And so the dad and the mom, before she passed away, turned the family home into a, like, Airbnb, like a bed and breakfast. And so they have several families living or not living, but like staying in the house at all times. And Miranda has been in a not mental hospital, but like a health facility, because she too, again, this is all coincidence and I don't know how this all came to be, but she too has an eating disorder. In this book, her and her mother and her grandma all had pica. I think it's pica. That's how you say it. Her personal non-eating essential in her life is chalk. And so she's at the mental health facility. She's at this hospital for 1, pica, to kind of get her out of that, and 2, for the eating disorder, because she counts every single bite that she eats to help her through, because she really doesn't want to eat regular food. She just wants to eat chalk. And so she has chalk hidden throughout her room in order to sneak the chalk. I think the grandma ate dirt from outside, or maybe it was like pine cones or something, and gravel. The mom did the same thing. She would eat like pieces of the wall or something. And what makes this a dark fairy tale is the fact that the house itself is also a character, and the house watches the family, and we get to hear the point of view from the house, like how the house keeps saying, I'm trying to protect the women in my life, the women that have lived in this home over generations. And the house is very possessive of the women. Now, the house could care less about Elliot, even though Elliot, you know, is from the mom. The house doesn't want Elliot. The house definitely doesn't want the dad. And Miranda, or Miri, as she's called in the book, she's like trying really hard to have a normal life. And so her brother's going to go away to college, and she's kind of hoping that she can follow him. And he's being very like aloof. You know, he loves his sister, and he really cares about her, but he also doesn't want her to follow him. Like, he kind of wants to be separated from her at the same time. And again, this book is so like, it doesn't have, it's more character driven. It doesn't really have a point. You're reading this and you're like, okay, what is going on? I definitely want to reread this book, and it's not because I read it, you know, at the beginning of like July or what have you. It's because after reading it the first time, I was still unsure of what I read. And so definitely want to reread it. But if you like books that have to do with like haunted houses, this is not technically haunted per se, but the house is a character, so you get to see the POV from the house. And then we have the dad. Again, he's in some kind of like depressive state. When he is agitated, or when his emotions are down, he cooks. So he's been cooking a lot. He's trying to like get more customers, or you know, people to come into the home, so that way it feels more lively since his wife is no longer in the house. And then he's trying to like help the children, you know, with Miranda being at the hospital and Elliot, you know, trying to get ready for college. It's all a thing. And I'm not going to give away the ending, so just know that it's deep, dark, creepy at times, kind of eerie, and slightly confusing. I really did enjoy it. Alright, this video is so long. And the very last book that I read in the month of August is Dead Indian Wars. This is the second book in the Damnation series by Clark Casey. Again, thank you, Clark, for sending me this book. I know it took me ages to read it. This book came out in 2018, so 2 years ago. He sent me this book, expected a review back, and I only barely read it this year. And I feel very bad. And that's why I try to get to the author books as quick as I can, so that way more people can hear about it right when it's released. However, I'm still reviewing it now, and I'm still insisting on you guys picking this up. This is considered a paranormal Western. And if you remember my review of this book, or the previous one, Dawn and Damnation, if you remember me talking about this book, it takes place in a kind of limbo called Damnation. That's the town. And it's like a Wild West kind of town. There are dead people roaming around. There is a whole Indian tribe situation going where there's many different kinds of Indian tribes, but they're all on the outskirts of Damnation. There's also a werewolf population that has one side of this limbo, and then there's Damnation itself. So I want to say Damnation is the entire limbo, and then downtown Damnation, or the saloon, is where the humans congregate, and then the Native Americans and the werewolves hang out on the outskirts of downtown. So we have one saloon. I think we have a porta potty, like a bathroom, and then there's like a house building area where all of the dead soldiers and other people live. Our main character, his name I think is Bill. Tom is his name. I knew it was I knew it was a common name. Tom is his name, and he is the journalist for this town. He writes the Crapper, and the Crapper is basically just sheets of paper talking about the comings and goings of dead people. The people that have come into town, where they came from, why, how they died, and then how they left Damnation. So in this world, okay, there is a rule, and Mo tells everybody that comes into his saloon or tavern, bar, whatever you want to call it. He tells everybody, hey, so you're brand new, here's a free whiskey on the house, here's a few dollars so you can play cards. That's basically all the dead people do all day long. Do they have to eat? No, but they're bored to tears. Do they have to drink? No, but it makes time go by a lot more tolerable. And then the money itself is just kind of a way to pass the time. You don't need money to buy anything, not really. But Mo insists on this kind of tradition that he has been taught since he's been here in Damnation. Just, you know, again, because bored people tend to do bad things. And if one person's bored and he's shooting up everybody, then there won't be a Damnation. So, in this world, Mo says if you don't kill somebody, or if you don't get shot for a whole year, you'll go to heaven. And that was like a running theme throughout book 1. You'll go to heaven if you don't shoot anybody or if you don't get shot. And Tom really wants to go to heaven. He's tired of being in Damnation. I don't know how long he's been there. I know that the oldest person has been there like 100 or so years, I think. So yeah, it's very entertaining. This is like I said, a paranormal Western. So it all takes place in the afterlife. If you show up in Damnation, that means you got killed in the real world and you sinned so much that you're stuck in purgatory. But you can redeem yourself by being clean, not hurting anybody, not bothering anybody, and not being bothered by anybody. Then you get to go to heaven. In this book, Dead Indian Wars, as the title suggests, it focuses more on the Native Americans within this purgatory. And they are, in the moment, having a war with the humans, the cowboys, the white folk. There is a black ranch, like cow wrangler, who's amazing, and his story is really cool, and what he does to the monstrous, there's a bull that shows up in Damnation. Again, I have so many questions that I would like to ask Clark about, like how and why, where do these people come from, and where do the animals come from? It's such a cool concept, but animals do occasionally show up in town, and that's what the people, the humans and the Native Americans and the werewolves are all eating these dead animals that just show up out of the dust. It's so strange. Regardless, okay, this is so long. Pick up this duology. I think it's a duology. I don't know if there's a third book coming because it's pretty much ended in a good, solid way. But pick up this series if you're interested in purgatory, like the afterlife, and what people do in this, you know, not heaven, not hell state. By the way, if you do get shot or you kill somebody in, I lied. If you get shot in damnation, you immediately go to hell. So there's that. Okay, so yeah, definitely check this out if you like purgatory, if you like to read about dead people, if you're interested in vampires, because there are 2 vampires in the series. If you're interested in any of that stuff, if you want to read something super short, something entertaining, it's such a fun read, and I really wish I would have read this 2 years ago so I could hype it up right when it came out so everyone would pick it up. But I'm saying now, pick up Dawn and Damnation. Here's the picture of Dawn and Damnation. I'm going to show it to you now. I have it in the hallway. I want to go look for it. And then, of course, you need to pick up book 2, Dead Indian Wars. Such a good series. All right, those were the 5 books that I completed in August. Of course, I'm in the middle of a ton of books. I'm in the middle of I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. McNamara? Yes. This was the wife of, I don't want to say his name wrong. I know it's Patton is his last name. Oh, Patton is his first name. Patton Oswalt. He's a comedian. She was married to him for like 20 years or something before she passed away, which was, I think, in 2016, maybe? Oh, yeah, 2016. I'm so good. Yeah, so this is an amazing nonfiction true crime. I really like this. I know I've read true crime before, but that was back when the kids were babies, and I for some reason I forgot that true crime was written in a fictitious way. So you're hearing the account of this news through a person. So it's not just a like documentary in written form about a certain serial killer and all you're getting is facts like a textbook. It's what the author thinks happened and everything that she has researched on this person or subject and what she's found out. So I really enjoy listening, or I'm reading it physically, but you know, reading Michelle's words, like why she got into true crime, why she's obsessed with the Golden State Killer. She's the one who pinned that name. It used to just be called the East Area Rapist, or the original something rapist. I can't remember what the other acronym is. But anyways, she's the one who coined the Golden State Killer. And so far, it's amazing. I'm currently on page 200. I'm almost done with the book. We only have a little over half of the book left. I think I'm at like 48%. But I'm currently buddy reading this with Ashley, totally enjoying it. And then I finally started book 4 in the Dublin Murder Squad series by Tana French. I'm currently buddy reading this with Maddie for the Maddie Hatter. She just posted a new video. I will leave her channel link down below. She's been MIA for a while. She does work and she has a little daughter. I don't remember how old she is now, but I know she had her a few years back, so she might be around 2 or 3, I think. Gosh, I don't know. Sorry, Maddie. But yeah, this is the 4th book. We have buddy read every single book in the series so far. Really, really enjoying where we're at right now. We're only on chapter, well, I'm supposed to read chapter 7 today. I haven't started that yet, but we're on chapter 7, technically. Chapter 8 tomorrow. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I love, like I said in all of my other previous reviews on the Dublin Murder Squad, I love that each book has its own voice. So in the first book, we meet a whole bunch of characters from the Dublin Murder Squad unit. All the detectives, we get to learn about them. And then in each book, we get the POV of one of the characters we saw in a previous book. So this character, the main character's name is Kennedy. His goes by Scorcher. That's his like nickname, but it's Mike Kennedy, and he is a detective, like I said, for the Dublin Murder Squad, and he trains all the newbie detectives, and so he has a trainee with him right now, and they are focusing on a family murder that happened in a house. So there is the mom, the dad, and the 2 children. Now the mom so far in the book has survived, and they're trying to think who would want to attack this family and why. And so far I'm absolutely loving it. And yeah, it's almost an hour into this video, so I'm gonna go and finish my lunch. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me ramble about books. Instead of calling myself binge reader, I should have called myself rambling reader. That's really stupid sounding. Anyway, it's so hot. I'm getting super, super shiny. I hope you guys are doing well. Please forgive me for being gone for so long. I miss you guys all. And I will be back with more videos coming soon. I do have to do a review on Betty by Tiffany McDaniels. I did read that in August as well. It came out August 18th. Here is a picture of it, but I wanted to do a single review on this particular book because it is so overwhelmingly devastating that I want to give Tiffany's book a solid time for itself. So I'll be doing that review next. That should be the next video you guys see from me. But other than that, I hope you guys, are getting on. Hope you had a good summer. I hope the start of your fall isn't too awful. For all the parents out there, I am with you. I am sorry that it sucks so much with this distance learning. If your kids are in school, congrats. I know that this is a trying time because do we want our kids to go back to school and wear masks all day, or may not get sick from COVID, or do we want to bother with the whole barely learning online? Because I do struggle with it. My kids get kicked off of Google Meets and Zoom all the time. I also have a lot of lag. So it's a really difficult situation right now. But like I said, I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!